Members of Turkey's ruling Justice and Development Party have given preliminary approval for a bill that will clear men accused of raping underage girls if they agree to marry the girls. There is also a second condition, that the sex was consensual without force or threat. Turkish lawmakers will debate the bill a second time before a final vote scheduled to take place on Tuesday.
The proposed bill has caused an uproar in Turkey. Many believe girls, especially abuse victims, will be forced into marriage.
Child sex abuse, by definition, cannot be committed without coercion, threat or deceit. Children who fell victim to sex abuse will now be forced into child marriage and will be subject to serious pressure to extract consent to marriage out of them.
Some members of the government insist this bill isn't about rape, but about child marriages. Justice Minister Bozdağ says the bill defends couples that had consensual sex, but were forced apart because of the existing law against statutory rape.
According to our law, these men receive a sentence of 16 years in prison. The man is in prison for 16 years. The woman is free. The parents forcing these couples to get married are also punished. They also usually have children of their own. This is our struggle, and clearly there's an issue here.
Critics say the new law will encourage rape. Thousands have marched in protest here, saying there is no way to differentiate whether or not an underage girl gave her consent or were forced to do so. The bill's opponents also say an underage girl is, by law, someone who isn't old enough to give her consent. If approved, the bill could quash the convictions of thousands of men accused of sexually assaulting underage girls. Approval will likely create more tension in Turkey, where violence against women has been on the rise over the past decade. Around 40% of Turkish women now report they've been physically or sexually abused.
Now, this number is also just the official number. We do believe that the unreported cases, actually, there are many of them, so the number is actually much higher. So this is definitely a very critical issue for women's rights in Turkey, Jongshu.
Michal, you mentioned that if this bill gets passed, minors could be forced into marriage. What other impacts could this bill have on the Turkish society?
Well, of course, this is a very critical issue for women's rights. The problem lies, again, within consent. It's not clear. It's not possible to evaluate whether or not this underage girls actually gave their consent willingly or were forced to do so, and that there is no real way to find this out. So there are going to be a lot more victims. There are going to be possibly many people, many underage girls who will be forced into marriage with their rapists because they're afraid to say that they were abused, or they are forced to say that they had given their consent. There is a major issue there. Just to give you another example with women's rights here in Turkey, just recently Turkey launched a pink public service bus for women's use only. Now, the problem was that they wanted to give women an opportunity to feel more comfortable while they were riding the bus because they felt they were potentially going to be harassed by men. So instead of educating the men not to harass women, they thought it might be a better idea to separate the women instead. So we can see the problem there in this example as well. Jongshu.
Michal Bardavid live for us in Istanbul. Michal, thank you so much.